You ever wanted to just be happy? I know that sounds like a stupid question, but there are times when I look at how people live their lives and I wonder, do you think about actually being happy? Because so many people seem to thrive on grumbling, on murmuring. Like I never quite understood those passages in the Torah that talk about people grumbling and how, no, this entire generation has to keep going around the mountain until they're all gone because you just grumbled and you weren't happy with what you got. But the more I live my life, the older I get, the more I realize, yeah, we're going to have to go around the mountain again, aren't we? Because everybody's just grumbling and they're not seeing the blessings around them. We've talked a lot this week about living in apocalyptic spirituality, about learning to see that the kingdom of God is here now all around us and the powers that are trying to keep us from being able to see that. Now we're left with the question of, well, now that I know this, what do I do now? I'm going to look like the crazy person because I know this now and everybody else is still living like it's not true. Welcome to the world of crazy wisdom. Let's talk about that as we walk together down creation path. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Charlie, and I am a Christopagan druid and priest of Bridget.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a Christopagan druid. And if those kids in the backseat don't knock it off, I'm the one who will take the car around the mountain one more time. Oy.
I really feel like that is the lesson we don't learn from the story. It's not
Yeah.
the ingratitude of it. It's, oh, yeah, you're never going to see it because you're still lost in that power dynamic and thinking maybe it was better to be in chains back in the dry land and not go on to the land of milk and honey. And yeah, I'm feeling that more and more every year. But we should go to the land of milk and honey because milk and honey, it's so good.
Made an amazing additive to coffee.
It does.
Look back at our
Yeah.
prepping for Beltane episode for that one. But happy 4th of July. It's 4th of July here in the States where we celebrate independence. I think it's also a great day to take stock for everyone, just to think about how are you liberating yourself from the mental bonds that have you enslaved on this day of independence. How are we declaring our independence and celebrating our independence as independent thinkers?
I think we should word this the way that our founding fathers would have. Happy No King's Day, everyone.
Happy No King's Day. If it was good enough for those that got to the promised land and who were warned not to take on kings, happy No King's Day. There we go.
But before we get into all that, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on whatever app you're listening to us on. We do 5 original Christopagan and Druid episodes Monday through Friday, and we've got a lot of interesting stuff going on. You don't want to miss anything. So let's just get into it now, shall we? All right. So how do you live this? In the intro, I said, welcome to Crazy Wisdom. Be a weirdo. This is my point. Be the strange one. Be the one that people don't understand why they're smiling when everything seems to be going wrong. I mean, don't be a menace about it, but don't give in to the powers that are trying to hold you back.
There is a level of levity that comes from unburdening yourself of all the false trauma and shackles that hold most of us down. And in that lightness, it literally puts a spring in our step. It literally allows you to smile even when bad things are going on.
This is what I don't like about the reification and recuperation of the Joker that's happened, is they've tried to take away our capacity for crazy wisdom by trying to say that's what the Joker is. No, the Joker is a narcissistic monster who's only interested in sowing chaos for his own personal amusement and not for anything greater than that. And that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about being the person that laughs.
Literally the laughing Buddha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring a little bit of Buddha into your life. Do it. It's good for you. Be willing to laugh. Be silly. Bring that joy with you. People might think that you're weird, but accept that as a badge of honor. Weird used to mean that you were aligned with fate, that you had luck on your side, that you were aligning yourself in right relationship with the universe and the cosmos to get where you needed to go. Isn't that weird how that shit word changed, maybe?
Yeah, it was changed so that the powers keep us from having this realized experience, living it
You
daily.
cut out.
It was designed by these powers and principalities so that we would give up our power and not be able to live daily in this realized existence and to be free. And so, of course, they had to pervert the word weird from living in alignment with one's fate or in alignment with good fate, having these good things to do yuck weird. It's like the perversion of pagan, where pagan used to just be more of a rural country folk type rural living. And then cities versus rural living became a thing, and it became a derogatory term for everything not metropolitan.
And because the old ways stayed out in the rural places, it became a derogatory term for the people who kept the old ways and didn't adopt imperial Christianity. Here we are today. But yeah, be a weirdo. That may not sound appealing, but it is. Let's be weird in your way. I'm not saying that you need to give yourself rainbow colored hair and start dressing in crazy ways. You can be weird in many ways. Be the person that's well studied and understands the topics that are coming up so that you can speak honestly to them. You can be the person that makes everyone uncomfortable in the room because when they start spouting lies, you just speak up and say, that's not true.
Yeah.
And you've established enough authority that it shuts down the conversation and people are like, I guess I'll look into it more. And they just move on and stop the argument. Or if they do press on you, you can give the facts and figures and where they can look it up to find out that they are in fact in error. Be that person that is disruptive. That's what it means to live in this kind of a holy kingdom life. That is the warfare that we are called to. And it's not about being rude. It's not about being cruel. It's about living in that place of honesty, integrity, joy, and connectedness, staying grounded in all of the things that we're always saying that we want some days now.
I like to think of it going back to our whole 40 years circling the mountain. You get to that point where you can either hold on to the opportunity to sit and shackle yourself to the murmuring, where you're left walking around the mountain that you've and enjoyed some milk and honey. You know, the whole idea is that you sit there and just enjoy it loudly and be like, frolic and have fun in it. Let everybody else see how much fun you're having and go, oh, I can sit and doggedly hold on to my chains of murmuring and continue this drudgery around the mountain, or I can let go and go join them with the milk and honey and have fun.
And of course, even Empire has to go in and the Deuteronomists insert into the story how actually it was scary in the land of milk and honey and they had to make preparations, and we're going to write an entire book called Joshua about how we just had to genocide all the people there and how that's a good thing, actually, because that's what kings do, which is why we have a very strong leader and a virtual proto king. Then that all disappears for what we have judges like God wanted. But then eventually we defy God and have a king again, and then everything falls apart. But it would have been great if you just obeyed the king.
No kings.
No kings.
Kings.
All hail No King's Day.
Yeah.
But learning to just live in this place where, again, not flaunting it. If you're at a funeral, don't be the one giggling on the side unless, I don't know, you're Irish.
If culturally appropriate for that funeral.
Culturally appropriate.
Please.
I remember Brian's reaction the first time he went to one of our family funerals and everyone was laughing. He was very confused. And that's because he was there at the wake and we're all there telling stories about the deceased person. All of our best memories about them. Do you remember the time this happened and that happened? Now, with the advent of phones, here's a picture. Remember when they did this? Everyone's laughing and celebrating the life of the person. That's a form of wisdom that a lot of people don't understand. And that doesn't mean nobody mourns. That doesn't mean that nobody grieves. We all cried. We all had our moments of tears, but we're there to celebrate their life. Plus, at least at Grandma Nixon's funeral, like she would have come back and slapped us all in the face.
She would have haunted some people.
She would not have been pleased at all if we were all maudlin and crying. But that celebration of life is a form of crazy wisdom. Having those moments where you're willing to defy the expectations of you're going to be scared now, you're going to be sad now, when they don't actually matter. Like you're going to obey because we said so. No, we said so is not a valid reason. I need a real reason, please.
Yeah. I'm either going to choose to, or I'm going to choose not to. That's my power. And the fun thing is, as the universe unveils more and more, you have these experiences more frequently, regularly, and you can lighten yourself from the trauma of your past. You can be clear-headed to make the choices from a better position, a wiser position, and know that power is yours. It's everybody. Everybody has that power.
And also remember, when I'm saying make jokes and stuff, that doesn't mean we're all going to become Robin Williams or insert name of popular comedian here. We all have our own sense of humor. A lot of people don't get my sense of humor. I make what would be like fun, silly jokes, but I also have a very dark sense of humor. And a lot of other people find it really funny. And some people really don't. I need to be mindful when I tell those really dark jokes. And when I see people taking it the wrong way and taking me serious about something that I say that was meant as a darkly humorous thing, pointing out, oh no, I was kidding, so that they understand. I'm sorry, nothing kills the joke faster than explaining it, but let me explain that joke so that you understand why I said what I said. Because that's about being mindful. Remember, we're combating the poisons. We're bringing in mindfulness. We're bringing in effort, concentration, faith. We're bringing in the energies that we want to see in the place. We're bringing that loving kindness, that joy, that compassion into the space. And so whatever is the appropriate energy, that's what we're bringing there. That's what we're carrying with us. And that can really make some people think that you're a weirdo. When everybody's panicking, just sitting back, and a lot of times when the Supreme Court decision comes down, for example, in the United States, there's an immediate panic over, does it mean this? It means that, people pontificating. My position is I am not an attorney and I do not have a firm grasp of the legalese that this was written in. I need to find somebody that I trust that can translate the text into more understandable English and see what they have to say about this. Just that I'm going to be cautious and not presume I understand what this really means is weird to a lot of people, because especially in our day of social media, having that initial reaction is very popular. And even when it's wrong, I don't want to harp on a meme that went around recently about something that did happen, but not to the person that they thought it happened. But there's a lot of confidently incorrect going on in our world because people are not being mindful and seeking wisdom. And that is a form of weirdness. I'm not saying you have to be the class clown. Not everybody is the class clown. I don't think I'm the class clown, but I'm definitely the weird one in most rooms because I'm applying these truths and trying to make life better for everyone. Your turn.
It was hard. I don't know where to go from here.
You have questions?
So now that we've learned what apocalyptic spirituality is, we've learned how to practice it, how can we share this with others? How do we demonstrate it beyond just the weirdness?
You invite them to the party. One of the things that we don't understand about spirituality is that it is contagious, that people, when they see you living a certain kind of life, and again, we're not saying to fake it. None of this is about faking it. I want to get that right off the bat, because I know when I was raised in evangelicalism, I was taught to always smile and be delightful so that people would want to know Jesus. Always mask what you're really feeling and always have a smile, because you should always have a smile because Jesus. And
I think all of us can think of that person that smiled, but you could see the sadness behind their eyes.
yeah, there are a few people that notice even when I was smiling, there's a certain haunted look in my eyes because I've been through a lot. But when you're honestly living in this place where you're actually practicing what we've been talking about, this proper faith, which is trust, when you're actually exhibiting mindfulness and effort and concentration and wisdom and living in basic compassion, people will notice. And you will notice that people start asking questions.
The funniest thing is you'll see the children will notice it first.
Definitely.
They notice it right away.
This is what Christ meant when he said, if you're going to enter the kingdom, you have to be like a child. Children haven't learned all of the systems of control that we place upon ourselves. This is, to me, what real bad parenting is. Bad parenting is when a parent does bad things. One of the bad things that people do to their kids is teach them to always obey power. Protesting is important. Sometimes you have to stand up. Teaching people that it's never going to be good, that we're never going to have enough, that abundance isn't real. When you're teaching all of these lies to kids that we hear over and over again, this debunked Malthusianism, and I keep using that word because, man, Malthus has so much to answer for. If there was a spirit that I could conjure up on the podcast and just berate for a couple hours, he'd be on the list with August. He's the guy who came up with this idea that there's a finite amount of resources on Earth. There are panics every now and then of, we're not going to have enough food. We're not going to have enough water. I've lived through so many of these. we're going to run out of X, Y, or Z by this period of time. Now, some of this is true. We're going to run out of oil. There's only so much of it in the ground, and eventually we will have pumped it all out, set it on fire, and roast ourselves in the heat waves that follow. But every time we come up against a border of there's not enough food, we figure out how to make more food. Now, we might greedily hoard it and not share it with the people that need it and let them go hungry.
Or we might break the system that we put in place. So then we suddenly don't have as much food because we broke the means of producing it or the systems that we were using
through greed. But we keep rising to the challenge. I'm not one of those people that thinks technology will always save us, but as a species, when the rubber hits the road, we have found a way to have the technology save us. I'm not blind to that. I would like to get to the point where we're not relying on being saved all the time. We'll find a way. We're going to figure out ways to do water desalination. There are a lot of interesting technologies, one of which is a means of producing energy that's byproduct is clean water. There's actually a couple different ones that have the byproduct of clean water. So there are ways that we can get around to doing that. I'm not so concerned about the limits of our resources as I am about the limits of our ability to have love and compassion and not hoard through greed and desire for power. And this is the lie that we put into kids, right? There's not enough. If you don't eat that food, somebody in fill in the blank country is going to starve. Like, you have that food and they don't. That's setting up this sense of imbalance that you should feel special because you've been given something. We honestly took food away from them or refused to give food to them. That's why they don't have it. So we're telling a lie there. Anytime a parent tells a child, I don't care if you want to kiss that person, be kissed by that person, or be touched by that person, let them kiss, hug, or touch you because that's their right over your body. That's a bad parent. That's a parent that is teaching a child to accept unwanted, unconsensual touch. This is how children get harmed and how these systems of control get placed over us.
And in this case, we're talking like give grandma a kiss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're talking about an innocent thing like that.
Yes.
In a way, but it's also not innocent because if the child doesn't want to give grandma a kiss,
the child
allow me to accept and honor that child's wishes and not teach them.
Non-consensual touching is non-consensual touching, even if that's give grandma a kiss, let your auntie give you a hug. I have a niece that is very averse to being touched. She just doesn't like it. And I'm a hugger. My go-to state is hugging. So you know what I do? I walk up to her, I put my arms out, and I say, love you very much, but I don't actually hug because I know that she doesn't like it. I get to go through the motions so that I get the dopamine reward of hugging my niece, and she doesn't have to go through the stress of the unwanted touch. That's just how she is. But it's these systems that are put in as a child that we have to overcome. And that's the problem. We often don't remember being taught that. When I say something like unwanted touch, Brian having to come in and backfill what I'm talking about, because so many people go give grandma a kiss, even when the kid's no.
Yeah.
That overriding the bodily autonomy of that child is so normalized that we don't understand it as overriding the bodily autonomy of a child and teaching that child that consent doesn't matter and your will can be overridden by people with power and authority over you. But that's heedlessness. That's why we're talking about the poison of heedlessness. The parent doesn't understand that that's what they're doing, right? That's not actively going through their mind, but they're not mindful of the end result of the lesson they're teaching the child. And so this is what we have to do is protect the kids, protect our...
It's the same thing with the trauma of passive compliance. It's a complex series of lies. It starts with this false belief that this thing, whatever it is, because it's not good, and it doesn't even have to be for a long period of time. The first lie is it's presumed it's always been that way, and therefore we must comply and accept that's how it's going to be going forward.
Yeah.
And kids are taught this, and then that trauma continues throughout their life if unresolved. Like, I was just thinking about a reply in a comment to a thing I posted the other day where I was talking about some political stuff going on and how we should be challenging this. Their reply was not wrong. Like, I understand that, yes, people aren't listening to the Constitution. That might be correct, but that encourages a passive compliance process that then everyone just basically, they make that statement, which may be factually correct in the moment, and then they go and do nothing. And it's no. that's not the contractual agreement between the government and the governed in the United States. As every individual in the United States, where we agreed to be following the governing is supposed to be following these rules.
We wove it
And then-
together.
Yeah, we wove an enchantment together, and the governed are supposed to be following their set of rules. Even when they try to bend those rules to imprison more people for breaking them, our job is to hold the governing to their side of the contract.
So how do you spread this? You exemplify it.
Yep.
You do what we're doing. You try to explain it to people. And hopefully we did it in a way that attracted people's attention. If I just said that this is going to be a series about how to bring peace and light into the world, less people would have looked at it. But by wording it by what it is, learning apocalyptic spirituality, the apocalypse happened. We're living in the realized eschatology. The kingdom is here now, in you, in me. No one will say here it is or there it is, because it's already here. All we're trying to do is get other people to see that and to live in that. That doesn't mean that they have to live in the same faith. That just means living in compassion, mindfulness, trust, putting in the effort that we need to put in, having right concentration, and seeking wisdom. And that's the path. I hope that you've enjoyed all of this. You let us know in the comments. If you have any further thoughts or questions, we will try to get to them and answer them either in the comments or in future episodes. Thank you so much for being with us through the series. If you're a regular listener, you might have noticed we changed up our formatting this week. This is going back to the original format we did for the podcast when it was just me. And we're going to be trying this out for a while. So let us know what you think about that too. Blessed Ratzi, reveal to us the wonder and mysteries of this world, so that we may find the hope and peace within us and live within that strength, sharing it to all that we encounter, so that we might be beacons of light. As Jesus says, we should not hide our light under a bushel, that we should be like a city on a hill, shining out as a beacon that here is peace, here is sanctuary, here is home, so that other people might learn to live in right relationship with themselves and with each other. Amen.
Amen.